Gertrude and Denise and all the bears would have gotten into trouble because of naughty people. In the cold winter months, there is no food, so the bears sleep for a long, long time. Bears give birth to their cubs in their winter dens. One winter, there was a bear named Gertrude, and she gave birth to 3 little, tiny baby bear cubs. And those cubs weighed less than a pound each at birth. At 2 months old, they had grown a lot, and they looked like this. When it became spring, Gertrude and her 3 cubs emerged from the den, and the cubs got to see the world for the first time. And food was still scarce, so the cubs still highly depended on mother's milk. At this time, the cubs were frisky furballs of energy and weighed 4 to 8 pounds each. And the cubs were pros at tree climbing. Gertrude depended on meat from deer and other dead animals that she came across. And the cubs would only have a couple of bites. As spring progressed, they would eat plants, grasses, bulbs, and other things. And if they were lucky, they would run into an anthill filled with tasty larvae just for them. As it started to be summer, a few berries began to ripen. Gertrude and especially the cubs had to keep eating so that they would grow to be big and healthy. And to her surprise, did I miss one? This book doesn't One day, while looking for food, Gertrude and her 3 cubs strolled into the picnic grounds. And to her surprise, she saw that at one of the picnic tables, there was easy to get 3 naughty picnickers had left their food out on the picnic table, and they didn't clean it up before they went out on a hike. She thought that the chips, cookies, bread, and all the other food was so delicious. Although some people might think that it was good that Gertrude got that food, it really was not. It was not good because if bears are fed or find unattended food out on the picnic tables like Gertrude did, then they will likely become so used to people that they will have to be relocated or killed. A fed bear is a dead bear. Once Gertrude finished eating the food at the picnic table, she saw that at the next picnic table over, there was food too, but there were also people at that picnic table. The people backed up because they were concerned about the approaching Mama Bear, so Gertrude got all that food too. The sad thing is that Gertrude kept repeating this behavior, so the Park Service named her a trouble bear. But Gertrude wasn't the naughty one. It was the people who went hiking without cleaning up their food that were naughty. Gertrude became a habituated bear, which means that she was so used to people that it was a major problem. Then the Park Service had to start slingshotting and paintballing Gertrude to skin her and to deter her from being in the picnic grounds. As the ranger said, I am supposed to slingshot bears and deer who are hanging out in the wrong places, in the hope that the skin from the slingshot will make the animals not want to be in picnic areas and campgrounds. Gertrude should just be eating natural foods, and her cubs should just playing and climbing trees while Gertrude looks for food. But no, they now have easy food, and not just easy food, but easy food from people. A naughty person has put a family of bears at risk. The Park Service is so concerned about Gertrude being habituated because people food is not healthy for bears at all, and if the people at the second picnic table didn't back up and give Gertrude what she wanted when she approached them, Then Gertrude might attack the people, and she would be blamed and likely killed. And sadly, Gertrude and her cubs do not stand alone in their situation. And what the Park Service is most concerned about is what if Gertrude sees somebody on the trail and wants their food? Even if they don't have any food, Gertrude might attack them thinking that they do have food. And the sad thing is that when the cubs grow up, they will have learned from Gertrude that people have food, so they might get into trouble too. Gertrude often strolled into the campground too, to check out what food might be there. And often bears get into even more trouble in campgrounds than in picnic areas. Obviously, the slingshotting and paintballing didn't work. Gertrude didn't learn her lesson. So the Park Service decided that Gertrude had done her things too many times and that they had to move her. Before Gertrude was moved, she decided to break into a garbage shed in the park. So she and her cubs feasted on the most tasty garbage. The garbage was so yummy. She ate bags full of rotten banana peels, leftover pork barbecues, leftover hamburgers, chili, and much more. The cubs loved the garbage as much as Gertrude did. They thought it was so tasty. Gertrude and her cubs were making a mess, so the Park Service needed to get Gertrude and her cubs to move out. So they shot a beanbag at her. The beanbag scared but didn't injure Gertrude, but it scared her so much that she ran away from the yummy tasting garbage. Then it became moving day, so the Park Service cooked a meal in the picnic area to attract Gertrude to a live trap that they had set. And Gertrude strolled into the picnic area and examined the trap, and she even read the signs. The Park Service put yummy-smelling jelly donuts in the trap to get Gertrude to go in. And the donuts smelled so good to Gertrude that she couldn't resist, even after reading the signs. And she went. Once they had Gertrude trapped, they stole it to get the cubs. But it was not easy to get the cubs because the cubs wouldn't go into a live trap. So the Park Service shot tranquilizer darts at the cubs, which gave them some medicine to get them to go to sleep, so the Park Service could put them in a cage and move them. Before they moved Gertrude, they gave her some medicine to go to sleep, so they could do an exam on her. They wanted to determine her age, how much she weighed, and to give her a yellow ear tag so they could identify her in her new home. Gertrude weighed 129 pounds and was 3 years old. Once they had finished Gertrude's exam, they put her back in the trap on the truck and they transported her and her cub to her new home about 70 miles from where they had trapped her. Once they got to Gertrude's new home, the rangers released Gertrude and her cubs, and the cubs took one last look before running away. Now Gertrude would have to go back to eating natural foods, but if she got into trouble again somewhere else in her new home, then the Park Service would have to trap her again and move her to the National Forest, which would be dangerous for her because it is a hunting area. The main things Gertrude and her cubs ate after being released were acorns and hickory nuts, because they ripen as it gets to be late summer and fall. Gertrude and her cubs had to climb the tall oak and hickory trees to get to the yummy nuts. Although it is usually easy to get to the nuts, sometimes the bears will gnaw the tree branches with their teeth to get while high in the trees to get to a large number of out-of-reach nuts. And their reward for their hard work is that they get to feast on all the yummy nuts, on all the nuts. The nuts are so yummy for the bears, and hopefully Gertrude will think of them as more yummy than people food. Gertrude and her 3 cubs were spotted one last time when they were getting ready to den, and she stood up to take one last look before going off into the woods to sleep for the winter. And we can only hope that Gertrude will stay safe and never run into any more naughty people and never run into trouble again.